Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Premier League preview, match week 30. As always, joining me for these previews, my partner on the podcast, the Dazzler himself, Mystic Mac. Darren, how are we?
I'm all right, pal. How are you?
Good. These international breaks, it seems like forever and a day since we've nearly done a podcast, doesn't it?
I know. Can't stand this international football show myself, pal. I'm not a fan of it. As well as Ireland did the weekend and all, and they did do well, you know, but just... it's not for me. Not for me at all.
Do you know what's restored my interest in it? I don't know if you watch Holland versus Denmark.
Great game. Yeah, it was a great
game. It should have been 4-4. What a game. Unbelievable.
And, like, you wouldn't have said, like, that's an outstanding Dutch team. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're looking at them going out and you're thinking, like, it's not the Dutch teams of years gone by, you know what I mean?
No, but they do have a lot of talent in there, though.
They do, but, you know, there's a lot of lads who can flatter to deceive at times as well. Like, you've Bergwijn and you've Memphis Depay.
What a goal. Took his goal well, though.
Absolutely, you know, and that's what I'm saying to you. Like, so there's talent, but, I mean, sometimes it's not always substance, you know?
I felt sorry for Ericsson, the one that hit the post where he sent the two boys the wrong way and turned and just curled it onto the post. I was willing it to go in, and then I was thinking, maybe not, because the celebration might be just a bit too much. So I was going, but no. Oh yeah, cracking game of football.
Yeah, it was a good game, all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'd say it was a lovely time of the evening.
Yeah.
You know, to just, I just put the kids to bed.
Yeah.
So popped it on the TV and just had a little. It was lovely.
That orange kit is class as well, isn't it? That Dutch kit. It just pops, doesn't it? It's like when you think of international kits, that Dutch orange kit just pops. It just looks...
When I think of international football, right, there's three kits that come to mind. The Dutch, the Brazilian, and the Argentinian.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And just... you know, like...
Well, you'd sprinkle in there, I suppose, maybe Italian, Spain, and German. The German kit's always great, the white with the black. It's just quality. No?
I've no interest in them. See German. Sig Heil. Fuck that. You're all right.
Jesus.
No way.
Well, anyway, we're back with a bang. This is the Premier League preview. Match week 30. Match week 30, no less. As always, you know, this is the one where we predict we give our predictions for each of the Premier League fixtures for the weekend. And as always, if you want to drop your fixtures down in the comments, you can do so. You can contact us, theuppertierpodcast@gmail.com, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're out there everywhere. You see us everywhere.
And don't forget, the Upper Tier is on the road this weekend.
We are on the road big time this weekend. I am heading off to Dallas, no less. And you are heading off to Manchester for United versus Leicester. It's going to be a belter. Anyway, let's get into this. No better place to start off but on Saturday at Anfield, 12:30, which in Dallas will be 6:30 in the morning for me. Reds, that is my commitment to this podcast. 6:30 in the morning, I'll be meeting up with the Liverpool Supporters Club from Dallas Fort Worth. We will be going to the Londoner pub, which is kind of weird, the Londoner pub for the Liverpool Supporters Club.
And will it be open?
It'll be open, and there's breakfast, buffet, beers, the whole lot laid on for the Supporters Club. It's going to be all good. Going to have a blast. So we're going to shoot some footage there. We're going to chat to Jeremy, the president of the club. Apparently they have a huge following. So we're really looking forward to it, and they're looking forward to meeting us Reds on tour. But this is a huge fixture, isn't it? Title race, lay down a marker, potentially to go top and 2 points ahead, even if it's only for a few hours, and put the pressure back on Man City.
Massive opportunity. Absolutely massive opportunity. I don't think it can be underestimated how big an opportunity it is to lay down that marker. And you'd expect, you know, maybe the last couple of weeks we've seen you know, not the best versions of Mane and Salah, you know, although still popping up with a goal here and there. The two boys look very sluggish after coming back from the African Nations Cup. You'd hope after the international break, maybe they'll look slightly better, but
I would imagine they'll be equally as sluggish after the two games I think they've to play. So
yeah. So listen, and then you've got your boy Diaz. He's obviously been off with Colombia. You've got Jota, who's been off with Portugal, and you've got Firmino, who's been off with Brazil. So clocking up a lot of air miles. This is what happens when you've got a successful team. You know, you end up with a skeleton squad at the training ground this week, I'd imagine. Very few people there, lots of days off, lots of rest and recovery, some nice little set piece sessions and stuff like that, I'd imagine. But on the whole, quite difficult to get ready for, isn't it?
You gave them the week off last week to decompress, which is no harm at all, because the team's been under serious pressure to even be in this position with Man City. There's been serious pressure week in, week out.
They've done what good successful teams have done over the years. They've gone from game to game rather than game to training to get. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I think a lot came out in the last number of years from United players and stuff like that about how when they were having their time in the sun, they went from game to game. There was no time to train. It was rest, recuperate, travel, game, rest, recuperate, travel, game, and they were able to find that kind of a rhythm and just show up and know the game plan and have the tactics and put it all into play. And Liverpool have been doing that excellently well, in fairness to them,
Yeah, without playing well, but getting the job done.
Mark of champions, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, fingers crossed and touch wood. What you thinking on this? I'm thinking 3-4-1 Liverpool.
Yeah, like Watford have turned in a couple of reasonable displays in the last number of weeks, I don't know whether it'll be as comfortable as 4-1, but I absolutely expect Liverpool to get over the line. I think I'll go 2-0.
2-0.
I'll go 2-0. A little more conservative, but again, a comfortable day at the office, let's say.
I just want to see the Bears flying with the Dollar Supporters Club as we keep on scoring, so I want a big one. I want this to be one of those breakout games where we absolutely thump a team while I'm away, Brighton versus Norwich.
Yeah, this could be a decent game, I think. Norwich again, showing a little bit of form, picking up points, scoring a few goals. I expect Norwich to be in this game, but I don't necessarily expect them to get something out of this game. But I do think they'll play a part.
Brighton over the last few weeks, they've looked very un-Potter-like, haven't they? Yeah,
they have, and maybe again we've mentioned that they looked a little bit tired, some of them. I would imagine, well, we know that maybe their numbers gone away and international duty will be slightly less than the likes of Liverpool, but there'll still be a good glut of players gone off, I saw the boy Sanchez starting in goal for Spain the other night, didn't he?
I think so, yeah.
He did. You've got Mark Cucurella who's gone back there. There's a couple of players, Trossards and stuff like that will be involved in the Belgium squad and stuff. So he'll be missing a few, but I'd say on the whole, the squad might look a little bit refreshed, I would think, after, again, maybe some time off and a little bit of rest and recovery and stuff like that, a couple of days in the golf course with the boys, maybe.
Yeah.
I think Brighton will do this. I don't think it'll be spectacular, but I think Brighton will do this 2-1.
I'm thinking a draw. I'm thinking a score. I'm thinking a score draw, maybe 1-1. I think Dean Smith, he's done a reasonable job at Norwich since he's gone in with what he's had to work with. And I think they're whereas they're not really getting the results that they wanted at times, they're becoming tougher to beat, I think, than they were very soft most of the season till he went in there. And once he laid down a marker, they became quite difficult to beat, although you would expect teams to beat them. Not as comfortable as you would have expected maybe in the first 6 months or 5 months of the season.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, so I think a score draw. Obviously, the other game we'll be keeping our eye on, Burnley versus Man City.
Yeah, Burnley are going to try and make this as difficult as they can for City. But again, I know City have had a lot of boys away and stuff like that. Same again, we obviously saw Aki getting on the score sheet in that Dutch game the other night. There's one of City's lesser known lights, even starring in international football. I think City will have enough here. I have to be honest with you. I think Burnley will try to stagnate things and make things very difficult and dogged and stuff like that. But I just think once City get around that 18-yard box and you start seeing that one-touch football and people vacating space for other lads to come into and stuff like that, I just think they'll have too much. I'll go 3-1 City on this one.
Yeah, I'm hoping not, but I'm thinking the same, because I think what happens is Burnley will be under so much pressure to stay in the game, and it's constant coming back at you constantly all the time. I think after about 60 minutes, I think Pep will just turn it up a notch.
Yeah.
And that's when the quality might come through. And we know the Turf Moor hasn't been the resilient ground it has been in years gone by. They've been offering up a little bit there. And I think City, I suppose it depends on what way they handle the pressure from the earlier game. If Liverpool get the job done, I suppose that might have a small factor on it. But I would expect Man City to win. But then I suppose we looked at Man City and we think where they might drop points is where they don't drop points. And where they do drop points, we never figure they're going to drop points there, you know. So you can imagine I'd be very happy if that was a draw. But wishful thinking. But I did make a point. About 3-4 games ago, and I said the game at the Etihad may not be as influential as people might think, but we shall see. But yeah, I think you're right. 3-1. I think Burnley might last 20 minutes. They might just have way too much of them in the tank.
I really think it could be whoever wins that game wins the league title. At
the Etihad, really? You think that's a title decider?
I think so, absolutely.
Yeah, it could be. Well, these two games will be. I think is that the game that's up next then?
I think it's the one after, isn't it?
It's the one after. Sorry, yeah, the one after it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it should be interesting. Chelsea versus Brantford. Our friend of the show from Dynamo's Dozen is heading over to Stamford Bridge with his father. Really looking forward to this, especially he was endowed on his trip with all the stuff that was going on and all the ticket talk and stuff like that. But it looks like he's going to get to Stamford Bridge to enjoy the Brentford game with his dad, which is a great thing to be able to do. Like,
absolutely.
What you think?
Wish them well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd almost say I'd be pulling for Chelsea just for our Paulino and Pop's going over for a look at this, you know. As much as it pains me, I think I might even just, you know, show a little bit of blue there and just say, I hope Chelsea get a result.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think they at times they've been making hard work of some of the matches, but then we know with Brentford as well. Our friend Christian Eriksen is starting to find his feet there, and was exceptional the other night for Denmark when he came on against Holland. And if he can create some sort of a partnership there with Ivan Toney, you know, it could reap reward. But I expect Chelsea to win. But are you thinking a tight game 2-1?
Chelsea, I don't know from Ian's point of view, but certainly from my own point of view, I find Chelsea an extremely frustrating team to watch. You know, you see them in the likes of the Carabao Cup final, and they're a super, super footballing team. Went out and really took the game to Liverpool, you know, from the word go. And it certainly wasn't the performance I expected from them. And it was an excellent performance. And then they go into some other games and they just, you know, it looks like they're treading water, and, you know, everything's slow and laboured. And yeah, they've got that kind of good defensive base to go off. But I just think, you know, going forward on the pitch, I think there's a lot of questions at Chelsea, isn't there? You know.
Yeah, I think Havertz has been very good. I think there's a bit of form there. He's an exceptional player and stuff like that. But I think at times when you look at it, I don't know whether it's trying to get the inclusion of Lukaku or whatever it is at times makes them a little bit disjointed more so than together. I think when he's not there and you've the likes of Ziyech, Havertz, Pulisic and those guys, I think there's a much more flow to their game or something like that.
I think as a team, they don't look as confident knowing Lukaku is the man. Whereas when they take Lukaku out and they play Havertz, I think everybody around is galvanised by Havertz because they know what type of player he is and they know he's going to try and bring them into the game. Whereas I think with Lukaku, there's an awful lot more of a single-mindedness of, I want to get the ball, I want to turn, I want to go up boys, I want to try and score goals, you know, to maybe lift the pressure off myself and this price tag and stuff like that. Whereas I think with Havertz is very, very clever. Havertz for me will do what's the best option, you know.
Yeah.
I don't need to. If Havertz thought it was a better option to square it to Werner for Werner to get the score sheet, he'd do it. You know what I mean? I think he's a very clever, very inclusive player like that. Whereas I think, with the likes of Lukaku, he's the opposite. He's that kind of, how many goals can I get? How quickly can I get them? Do you know what I mean? That type of thing. And it doesn't always lend itself to a team that's trying to pull in one direction,
Yeah. So what you thinking on this one?
I'll go 2-1 Chelsea.
Yeah, tight.
Yeah, well, I think it'll be tough. I think Ericsson's made a bit of a return to form, and I think Tony as well has got back in the score sheet in recent weeks. Brian and Mbeumo and stuff like that have been doing okay. If they can keep Chelsea quiet for the first little while, I think this could be a decent game as well.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. It'll be a good game, good competitive game to go to as well. So
absolutely,
I'm sure Ian will be screaming from the stands. And who knows, Havertz might pop up with that winner and really make his weekend. That's what you want. Yeah. Leeds versus Southampton.
Yeah, I think this could be a good game as well. I think obviously the Leeds Wolves game a couple of weeks ago was just
electric.
It was just nuts. It just really was nuts.
It's the reason why we love the Premier League.
Like, you just could never ever imagine that at half time. No. Now I know the sending off played a big part in stuff, but don't forget, like, they lost their striker. They didn't necessarily lose, their centre back or their goalkeeper or anything like that. So Leeds still had to do an awful lot of work. You know what I mean?
He's a big player for them, though, isn't he? Jimenez, he's a captain out there,
He is, but I mean, like, we've seen teams go down to 10 men and make stuff an awful lot more difficult, even with like a central defender gone out of the team. Whereas they lost their striker. So you're kind of thinking, if they were playing a 5-4-1, all of a sudden they play a 5-4 and they just hold the ball higher up areas. They're 2-0 up, don't forget.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like they dealt with the sending off very well. And their game management was very poor. Like, they were still going to try and score goals, which allowed Leeds to then catch them on the bounce and stuff. And you were like, why you get into a game of football here?
They were kind of playing like they hadn't had a man sent off, and it was an exposed bit. And their defence was all over the place for about 25 minutes. I don't know if you've seen their defence, and especially so unusual for Cody because he's so solid at the back there and Marshall in that back line.
And I was kind of thinking, like, we'd obviously come off the back of United and Atletico Madrid, and I was like, if you absolutely know the boy Bruno Largate didn't watch that game, because if he did, he'd have had lads going down with injuries left, right and centre. He'd have had lads over the corner flags. Every time Oblak took a cross in Old Trafford, he fell down. Took him 20 seconds to get back up. They slowed everything. Yeah. And that was the stuff that obviously frustrated the daylights out of United fans. But obviously, but also the thing that maybe we looked at and we said, that's the type of stuff that gets you over the game. And that's where Wolves needed to be a little more cynical and a little more clever with how they dealt with Leeds and stuff like that,
Absolutely.
Listen, I'm going to go for a draw on this. I think Southampton are in good form, but I think Leeds will be buoyed by, the win and stuff like that. And I know, I think they're going to have Patrick Bamford back from what I believe, and stuff like that. And obviously, they've picked up a few points under Jesse Marsh now as well. So I'm going to go 2-2 Leeds and Southampton.
Nice. I'm going to go, this is something I haven't called much this season, but I'm going to go for a Leeds win. I think they're getting a bit about themselves again. I think that there's a little bit of sprinkling of confidence there has returned. And I think, as you said, if Patrick Bamford is back.
And don't forget, Calvin Phillips was on the bench the last day and didn't play. So with 2 extra weeks in the bank, Calvin Phillips will also play. And we know how big a player he is for Leeds.
And we also know with Southampton at the moment, they're not at their superior best at the minute either.
Oh, we think, listen, they're safe, aren't they?
Yeah. And 4 weeks ago they weren't.
No, and they went on that little run of games and victories and stuff like that. They got themselves safe, and I suppose the pressure's off to a degree now, so maybe we will see them show up again. But they did look tired in the last couple of games,
Here's a tantalising one for you: Wolves versus Aston Villa, derby.
Yeah, could be a good game, although I think maybe it could be a better game on paper, because I think. Obviously, Wolves go out the last day and, they look like the Harlem Globetrotters scoring and getting scored against you. Like, this is a game of basketball here with Leeds. Yeah. And then obviously Villa Villa have been in good form and stuff like that. But obviously West Ham got the better than the last day, didn't they?
Yeah.
I know Stevie wasn't happy with that performance.
Yeah, he said they only really started playing the last 20 minutes. He wasn't happy, and he was vocal enough about it as well. He didn't hold back.
Yeah, and I think they'll put a much better foot forward, but I don't necessarily think it'll be enough.
Wolves are going to be missing Jimenez for this as well, aren't they?
They will, but I don't think that's massive considering they've got the boy Neto and they've got the boy Podence that they could play the two up front, or maybe even the lad Silva. So I have 1-1 beside this.
Okay.
I'm going to go for a draw there.
I wonder, I think this could be high scoring. I think this could be end to end. This could be two teams going at it, proper derby.
I think that this had been 2 or 3 weeks ago. It might have been. Yeah. But I just think they've both had their feathers plucked a little bit in recent weeks. And I think it'll be, let's get back to basics here and let's try and tighten things up at the back. And I think they might try and stifle each other a little bit.
It was interesting a week or two ago when Leeds weren't in the game. I was about to WhatsApp you saying your boy Podence is playing off the Richter. I think he got a goal and an assist or something. I'm not too sure. Definitely got a goal anyway. And I was thinking, we always talk about him on the podcast and he's absolutely flying. And then Leeds got one and I said, God, I better hold my powder here for a second because I was about to message you going, your boy is on fire. And then I said, hang on.
I've mentioned it before, Daniel Podence is Eden Hazard Mark II. He's built, he's got that stocky kind of a build, that very low centre of gravity, moves very, very well with the ball. I think the other issue with him, though, is another one very close to Eden Hazard's heart is the injury issue. Because he's missed an awful lot of time at Wolves, as maybe Hazard has over, the last number of years. When you're that kind of a gifted technical player, you take an awful lot of wax, don't you?
Yeah.
And I just think it catches up with them a little bit, But I have to say, he's a fabulous player, the kid. He really, really is.
I'm sure you'd be happy enough now if United went in the summer and took himself and Neves, maybe. Be a nice little combination there, wouldn't it?
I'd be even happier with if I could choose two, I'd take Neves and Neto.
Nice.
That'd be like, that made my heart sing. No point me lying.
I'm going to go for a 3-2 in this, but I can't tell you who's going to get the third. I don't know which way it's going to go because I think it's going to be so open.
Okay.
That's all I can say, but I think I'm going to go 3-2, but I won't tell you which way because I just can't figure it out really,
Tally ho.
Yeah. Big one, 5:30 in the top 4 race, United versus Leicester.
Yeah. Obviously, this was one of the really, really big games we had, left. Because obviously we played Spurs and we got the 3 against Spurs. We've got Leicester, we need 3 there. We've got Arsenal, we need 3 there. We've got Chelsea, we need 3 there. And we've got Liverpool, we need to put a spanner in your wheel as well if we can.
This is another one that you could lay down a marker though, isn't it? Because I think the contenders are all playing then Sunday and Monday.
Yeah, they are. I know Arsenal are certainly on Monday night, aren't they?
Yeah, and you've West Ham and Tottenham on Sunday.
Yeah, for me, West Ham are out of it at the minute, I have to say. Unless something miraculous happens with the way, Arsenal are playing at the minute and the way they're kind of getting results and stuff. Although I think maybe we might see something this week if we're lucky. I think this is a massive banana skin for United, I have to say.
Okay.
I think this is a massive, massive banana skin. Leicester have been going from European game to Premier League game, from European game to Premier League game, and have tended to look kind of tired in those Premier League games. But obviously they won't have that this week. And I know the boy Maddison's been in good form and Vardy's been coming back from injury and you got Tielemans, and I think this will be very tough.
Really? I think this could be, when we spoke about that performance coming from United, I think this could be it. I think that team has gone off and it needed a break from club football to decompress from all the shite that was going on. And I think the international break came at the right time for United to just get away from the media crap, the journalist stuff that's going on and all, and to be able to decompress. And who knows, before this game, we may get an announcement on where the future's going with United in terms of a manager, maybe. that could stabilise things a little bit and buy out guys up a bit. But I think I think Luke Shaw for England the other night, I think he did all right.
Yeah, he was decent enough. Yeah, got a good goal and stuff like that,
Yeah, and I think Maguire going into the international scene relieves that kind of pressure that's on him at United as well, because he can loosen up a little bit in it and stuff like that. So I think you might get a number of players back that might be a bit more relaxed in returning to club football, as opposed to that tidal wave of pressure that was coming from every angle at them, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and, like obviously there's a couple of lads have had good international performances and results and stuff like that. You've got Elanga and Victor Lindelof, obviously, who've qualified for the next phase. They got past the Czech Republic and stuff like that, which was a good victory for them getting by them, But I believe there's a couple of issues around Pogba and Varane at the minute. There's some injury issues there, early injury issues ahead of the weekend. We'll have to see what way they come back and stuff like that. Yeah, listen, I think it's going to be tough, but I'm going to say we're going to get over the line. And I'm going to say 3-2 United.
Yeah, my Liverpool fans will be shocked at this, but I kind of think this will be, I think 3-1 United. I think they'll come back, they'll be buoyant, and they'll have an appetite for this run in. And you've seen in the past when their backs is to the wall and there's some tough fixtures coming up, galvanizes them a little bit, you know what I mean? Ranić will have a little bit of time there with some of the players without that whole pressure that's on top of them and stuff like that and all. And I think he might have been able to work on a few things. Because especially I think also the Atletico thing was such a disappointment as well. That was hanging over as well. I think that should be worked out of the system at this stage.
You see, I still think we're kind of in the midst of a lot of stuff, obviously. There was tweets today from Fabrizio Romano and stuff like that, to say that there's no deals going to be offered to Cavani, Lingard, and Juan Mata. So the three lads are all expected to leave in the summer. And the deal
makes sense though, doesn't it, Darren? Makes sense.
Well, I mean, the Cavani thing does, provided you've got somebody coming in behind him, because otherwise, like, we've been stuck for striker for a number of years now, searching, playing Audi and Gallo and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't think any manager be signing unless there's commitment there though, wouldn't he?
Yeah, well, yeah, you'd have to hope so. But I mean, there's the squad needs a bit of depth everywhere, all over, you know what I mean? Unless they're going to promote from within. The boy Shola Shoretire, we've spoken about him before, he's a smashing young player. But I mean, if you're going to put your Premier League hopes on a kid that age, we're in trouble from the start of the season, you know what I mean? But I think obviously Shaw is in discussions about a deal, and Bruno was just signed his new deal, I think, or if it's not signed, it's they're just waiting to dot the I's and cross the T's. Yeah. I think if we could get a managerial announcement, it would be huge, but I certainly don't expect it before the weekend. I do think United need to put their foot down on this a little bit, because I believe Erik ten Hag has been interviewed by 2 clubs since he spoke to United. And I mean, can we afford to miss out on this guy? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we'll probably do an episode on this managerial situation, because I think it requires a bit of in-depth discussion, to be honest, because there's a lot of talk going around, in terms of, they're interviewing. First of all, I don't believe for a minute they're talking to the 4 managers. I think that's a lot of plamazing that's going on and stuff like that, because one, I don't see Luis Enrique walking away from Spain this close.
Well, the difficulty apparently with Enrique is him not leaving Spain.
Yeah.
So that's where that lies. I think Lopetegui looks like he could be the backup option. That maybe United feel like they could get him out of Sevilla, and a manager with a really impressive record, but maybe not with the kind of flair and attacking threat that maybe you'd want to see from a United team. And then Pochettino, I think, has been the one in recent weeks that's really kind of withered away since the Champions League exit and since the defeat at the weekend. Obviously, they got beaten by Monaco and stuff, and it seems like his stock has fallen massively. Listen, I think if we don't get Ten Hag done, this is good night Vienna for another
I've a funny feeling a lot of this talk is Plumaz and the fan base a little bit. I think it's Poch. I really do think it's Poch, and I hate to say it as well, but I really think it's Poch.
No, you don't.
Because I do, honest to God, I do, because I think, do you know something? Because I think Ten Hag, I think you hear what he's saying at the moment. It's not about money. It's all about the challenge. It's all about, I don't need a total rebuild. I can work with this squad and mold it into something. He's saying everything that needs to be said to tell the Glazers to send him the contract. And when I see someone like that after doing an interview that's still trying to sell himself through the media of what he's doing, I don't need a big wage and, you know, all this kind of thing and all. To me, I think someone has let out a little feeler there and they go, you know something? I think we'll go with Poch. and I know it will so disappoint the United fan base because they have their heart set on Ten Hag, don't they?
Well, I think at the minute, you know, looking at it, you'd probably say, you know, Ten Hag is the favourite. You know, certainly from the United point of view, he's the favourite. I think we're probably with Lopetegui in second at the minute. I just think Poch is, you know, his stock has fallen so far, you know, in recent times. I think United fans don't want him at all. And I think the issue with Enrique is you just can't get him out of Spain because he wants to leave the national team before the World Cup.
If you could get Enrique out of Spain, where would you put him? Would he be the guy?
I'd probably put him ahead of Poch and Lopetegui. But for me, I'd still put him behind Ten Hag. Listen, I've nailed me colours to the mast a long time now. Yeah. I want Ten Hag. I said it before, you know, I think you get opportunities, and I think obviously, you know, Fergie went and he sat down with Guardiola and stuff like that, and it didn't happen, and all of a sudden he ends up at City and you've missed a boat, and then, you know, there was talk of Klopp, and then again you missed a boat, and now all of a sudden, you know, you're staring down the barrel of missing out on a guy who could legitimately, you know, other than, you know, we talk about Klopp and Guardiola. I mean, other than Ten Hag, the only other two I would want to give the job to is Hansi Flick and Nagelsmann. Neither of which you're going to get out of Bayern or the German national team. Yeah. So he looks like the one who was maybe of that caliber and also is available, and that maybe could come in and be put in charge of a rebuild, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It'll be interesting, but I just with what's gone on in the past, I just don't trust that United board at all. I could just see them just doing a swerve, you know what I mean? And I don't know if they're presenting a situation here where it's a kind of Plumaz thing and they'll come out with something to go, oh, we tried to get Ten Hag, but we couldn't get him. So we ended up with Poch or something, I mean, you know, and it's just...
Here's the other thing, like, you know, he's apparently been approached by two other clubs.
Yeah, I think Dortmund's one of them, I think. He's been heavily linked with Dortmund.
Dortmund's one of them, right? Is PSG the other one?
Well, if PSG is the other one, yeah, I wonder too. Yeah. Well, if it's PSG, then yeah, I suppose.
Because I don't necessarily, I certainly wouldn't worry about us losing out to Dortmund, because I think, you know, Dortmund have always been like a selling club and stuff like that. They really give that young, youthful, you know, crop of players an opportunity to play and stuff. But Dortmund are about to lose their crown jewel, don't forget, as well. So, I mean, that's also going to be what you would describe as a pretty big rebuild. Or I think you may also see Jude Bellingham out the door there soon enough.
Apparently the talk he's going to hold off for another year. He's been heavily linked with Liverpool, but the talk is it's not going to happen for another year, apparently.
And it seems to be Dortmund drip feed one at a time. So that would make sense that, you know, it was Sancho. Yeah. Then it's Haaland.
Because if they lost both of them,
then it's Bellingham. So maybe they're cashing in to the tune of 50 to 80 million every summer, which enables them to rebuild and keep the finances of the club in a good order and stuff like that, you know. And listen, they run the club extremely well. If you're Erik ten Hag, do you want to go in there knowing you've got to sell your best player every year or every second year?
Yeah.
When you've the opportunity of going in and rebuild Manchester United, which could, if he comes into United and he rebuilds them, and I'm certainly not saying, it's nailed on that he does that. If he comes back to United, rebuilds it, United solidifies to begin with, rebuilds, the football starts to get better. We start to get the right kind of league finishes. We challenge for a title. We pick up a couple of trophies. It's not long before there's a statue outside the ground for you, pal. But with the way things are going at the minute, and then you've got PSG, which is the unknown quantity, because their fans are a strange bunch. They really are. Like, you don't know what you're going to get with them. There's a massive rebuild that could be going on. We're told Leonardo, we're told Pochettino, there's
the director.
Director, there's a number of the players going to be, shown the door in the summer and stuff like that. So that's another big kind of a big sort of a rebuild, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose because it's PSG, there's a little bit of a draw there. But I kind of wonder, if you're going from the Dutch league to the French league, are you really progressing your career the right way? That's how I would look at it. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm Eric Ten Hag and I have to decide between PSG and Dortmund, I'd probably go to Dortmund.
Well, it's going to be less hassle, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think somewhat...
You pick up a DFB Pokal Cup and come second in the league and get through the Champions League group stages, and you're getting a pat on the back.
Yeah, but you look at the Bundesliga this year as well. It's become a tad bit tighter, hasn't it? And a tad bit more competitive, as well. And maybe some of that's to do with the fact that they have Haaland and they have Bellingham and Jude and stuff like that. No, maybe
that Bayern squad could do with a little bit of a shape. Yeah, a few little kinks shown in that squad as well. As it gets older and stuff like that.
But remains to be seen. I wouldn't be surprised if United going into this weekend actually announce something just to give it that last push for the last month or two. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be surprised at all. So we went to Sunday then, and it's more of the top four really. West Ham versus Everton.
I think at this stage, I've about 19 clubs that I would prefer to be playing for than Everton. And no matter what matchup of the teams you give me, I'll be going with the opposition. So this is West Ham. All day West Ham.
Yeah, I think so as well.
I think Everton are in massive trouble, man. I really do.
Yeah.
I know they got the win the last day and stuff, but I don't know.
An awful lot of talk on players at the moment as well, potentially leaving. Richarlison. Hate to mention him, but Richarlison. Dominic Calvert-Lewin as well, linked with a move away as well. A lot of when we talk about crown jewels in a team, wanting away.
We spoke about this, didn't we? We talked about this and about that 100 million they'd look to get for them two boys.
Yeah.
And you said, no way will they get a ton for the two boys. And I said, they absolutely will. You watch. They'll get it. They'll get over a ton for the two boys. Easy money.
Not if they hit the championship, they won't.
They will. Absolutely. They'll get 60 million a pop for them two boys. And they'll buy 4 players at 30 million ahead and try and rebuild.
The CFO or whatever club does it should be fired immediately if that happens.
It'll be, I could tell you who it's going to be.
I'd say Arsenal's probably going to be one of them.
It'll be Arsenal and PSG.
So then we know it's Richarlison to the French league and Dominic Calvert-Lewin moving to London.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, interesting.
I'm going to go.
It gives me shivers thinking 60 million each. I'm shivering here thinking about it. And I'm not even the guy signing the deal or offering the contract.
They're not even coming to your club and going to affect you.
60 million.
But this is... That's football.
Arsenal go into Europe with your 60 million. Dominic Calvert-Lewin for 60 million.
Yeah,
stop.
And I don't know. I have to say, I do like the boy Calvert-Lewin. I would have a massive, massive issue with his injury record. If I'm Arsenal and I'm looking to outlay 60 million bucks on a guy that I'm pinning my Champions League and my league hopes on, am I going to go in with a guy that probably plays 50% of his games? Not for me.
Is that not the mess they just got out of?
I wouldn't be gone. Well, I think in terms of attitude and endeavour, you'll get something from him that you won't get from, the man who shall remain nameless. But yeah. I think his injury record is shocking. I really, really do. He's a young guy. He's a fit guy. He's a strong guy. He is a good footballer. He's a good finisher. I like the kid a lot. But don't go out and shell out 60 million on a guy that's going to play half your games. You're pissing money into the wind.
If I was Arsenal and I make top 4 and I have that Champions League money to spend, I ain't spending it there. And if I do, you're rolling the dice on that one big time.
Now, here's the only thing we will say. We weren't overly complimentary about Arsenal's transfer strategy come the end of the summer. And we have to hold our hands up and go, do you know what? The boy Ramsdale was a great boy.
Yeah.
Do you know what? The boy Ben White was a great boy.
Now, with Ben White, remember, we're looking at Ben White. We never questioned Ben White as a footballer. We only questioned the price tag.
Price tag, yeah.
But we knew he's a good footballer because we've seen him at Brighton. We know what he can do.
We did. He was on loan at Leeds. Liverpool were heavily linked with him.
And took a bit of time to settle in.
Yeah. But I watched him the other night, even for England, and I just thought, kid looks very at home here.
Yeah.
Oh, he looks,
and even as a last minute inclusion, because he was called to play for that with the injury, wasn't he?
Yeah, he looks good on the ball. He passes it well. He's communicating well. Like, he could do well for them for the next couple of years. He really could be a mainstay in that Arsenal team for the next 4 to 5 years. And that, if you're
that's why you're spending the 50 million, aren't you? You're spending the 50 million expecting that, aren't you?
That's what I'm saying. Like, when you look at it like that, is it bad business? 8 million a year. It's not that bad, really, is it?
No.
It's really not. Listen, I don't know. I certainly wouldn't be going for Calvert-Lewin if I had 60 million to spend on a striker. There's 10 guys I could think of that I prefer.
Minimum.
If I could get the boy Christopher Nkunku out of Leipzig for 60 million, I'd give it to him all day long. Yeah. He is absolutely, I know I mentioned him a few weeks ago, but he played for the French national team the other night. He started up front. Kid's gonna be an absolute baller. But it's getting now, because if he moves, the next time he moves, he'll be 100 million.
Yeah.
So this is your opportunity where you might get involved at 50 or 60 with Leipzig, and you go, here you go. But if he moves and if he goes to a Real, a Barca, and things go well, you're talking
sky's the limit.
You're talking the sky's the limit to try and get him out there, and that's the problem,
Yeah, so we're both going for West Ham here, and no surprise.
And I'm going West Ham 3-1, actually. I think they're going to tonk them.
Well, you see what's going to happen now. It'll be a Calvert-Lewin hat-trick and Richarlison with 3 assists or something. And I'll look like an idiot again talking like this, I just can't stand either of them. Tottenham versus Newcastle. This is what you're going to be praying for here, isn't it? This is Dan Burn. This is...
I don't know if I think you'd need 11 Dan Burns to get Newcastle through this, if I'm honest. I just think Spurs are really starting to turn the screw, aren't they? Certainly on the offensive side of the pitch, I think Kane is starting to look, if not back to his best, he's getting there. Yeah. I think the boy Kulusevski has been a breath of fresh air for him. He's been excellent.
Great boy.
A great signing, And you've got him, Son, and Kane, which are really starting to work well as that little triangle at the top of the pitch. And the boy Bentancur, obviously, he's doing a good job in next to Holberg in the middle. And then they're going with that back three and the 2 wing backs. It's made them a little more solid and difficult to beat. I think Newcastle will give them a game, but again, I see Spurs getting over the line here. The Newcastle, it'd be interesting to see how Newcastle have progressed. And the reason I say that is the Newcastle game, or the Spurs game, was the first game under their new ownership at St. James's Park, if you remember.
That's right.
And they took the lead very early on in the game, and St. James's Park erupted, and it was like it was hairs in the back of your neck standing up stuff. It was amazing. And I think Spurs managed to just grind them down and turn them inside out a couple of times. Newcastle are a far better team than they were then. Much better players. They'll be in more of the game. We could see a very similar result, though. I'm going to go Spurs 3-1.
Good shout, yeah. I think so as well. But if there was ever a game we wanted our man Eddie Howe to step up, you'd be screaming his name all weekend, wouldn't you?
I have a theory coming in a minute anyway. So
okay. We're going to round out the weekend with the Monday night football, which I think is going to be a fabulous game. Palace versus Arsenal. This is going to be electric.
And this is the one I'm pinning my hopes on. Palace will get something out of this.
This is interesting. If yourself and Spurs get a win and West Ham get a win, and then Arsenal were to draw or drop points or lose, that's going to be a very tight top four race.
I absolutely see Palace getting something out of this. I think obviously we saw them against City a couple of weeks ago, and they were excellent, you know. Now I know they had to kind of board the goal up a little bit at times, but they were able to do it.
Dug in great,
you know. Monday night under the lights of St. James's Park. You ask Eric Cantona all about it. It's no walk in the park, you know what I mean? I think Palace are, you know, they're an improving team. I think they'll be really buoyed by the fact that, you know, they've got that semi-final to look forward to in the FA Cup. They're very safe in the league. And I think they're going to go out and put on a performance. I think the boy Conor Gallagher started the other night for England. Until he came off, he was man of the match. Yeah,
shining light without a doubt.
He was excellent, you know. He really, really was. He set the tempo. He pressed. He picked passes. He was excellent. We've spoken about him, you know, every week this year nearly. And I expect him to really get stuck into Arsenal, I have to say. And a couple of his pals, the boy Mark Gay, he was excellent as well for England, you know. Tariq Mitchell came on, played well. 3 Palace players on England duty. It's been a long time since that's happened, you know. I think Palace will get something out of this. I really, really do. I think Palace will take the lead. I think Arsenal might do well to grab a late equaliser in this.
Big call. Arteta in the tunnel with his arm around Paddy going, listen, Paddy, you know you've got an FA Cup coming up here, semi-final. You know, you don't need this kind of hassle.
I don't know. I think this is... I think when you see this happen, you know, players going back against their old clubs and stuff as managers, they have a little bit there and they want to go, you know what? Because don't forget, Patrick Vieira wants that Arsenal job one day. Absolutely does.
Yeah, and you're always going to get a bite with a good London match derby as well, you know what I mean? London derby, so be interesting.
I have 1-1 down for this one, but I think Palace could, you know, start off like a train here and get out of blocks. I think what will happen is if Palace don't get a second, I think Arsenal come into it late on and they'll get something out of it.
As a Liverpool fan, I know how tough it is to go to Selhurst Park to get a big result in a run-in.
Yes, you do.
You don't have to remind me about what that place is like, that fortress.
We have a friend who used to play for Crystal Palace, a family friend, you know, Paddy McCarthy, and Paddy was club captain at Palace for a couple of years, you know, and his family are all big Liverpool fans, and he had his mum over at that game, at the Liverpool Palace game, you know, and obviously Liverpool went 3-0 up, and Paddy said to the mother, well, come on, we'll jump in the car and we'll get out ahead of the traffic and stuff like that. So they were walking to the car and there was a little roar went up and it was 3-1, you know.
Yeah.
And they got a bit closer to the car and I think they might have even got in. And then by the time he was looking for the radio station, he turned on, it was 3-2 and he went, what the hell's going on here?
Get back in there quick.
And by the time they got out of the car park, it was 3-3. And the tide had turned dramatically in the space of about 16-20 minutes.
I'm not going to tell you my experience of that game, except to say I was watching it on a computer, so not on a channel. And I was about 12 minutes behind.
Oh.
And I was cruising. And I started getting messages through with smiley faces and people laughing at me. And I was going, what's the problem here? We're 3-0 up.
Oh, no. Realize. And you didn't realise the lag was so bad?
I didn't realise.
Oh, God.
The worst night of my life. A really bad one.
Oh, God.
I was going, what's all the fuss about here, boys? This is like where you tell your team, watch match of the day up until the 60th minute. You were doing great.
Oh, God, man.
No, to see Stevie push the cameraman away and Suarez in tears, and they were just broken. Very sad. Since then, I've never liked those white kits.
No.
Yeah. Well, I actually didn't give him my prediction. I'm thinking 2-1 Arsenal. Smith Rowe's due a goal, isn't he? Please. I don't know. I wouldn't be too upset with the draw either. I'm really enjoying this top four race. It distracts me from the pressure of my own team and what they're going through.
Yeah, because if the only race going on in the league was for the title, it'd be on every screen in every pub and in every town and in everywhere. It's not. You've got the league, you've got the top four, and you've got the relegation. Plus, you've got the gear going on with Chelsea. So, you get a bit of screen time and you get a little bit of time off as well, which is nice for everybody, isn't it?
This sort of situation is making up for what we had to go through with no fans through the pandemic and stuff like that. No, certainly it's back with a bang and we're enjoying every inch of it at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure. As always, the Upper Tier Podcast on YouTube. Head over there and smash that subscribe button. Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music for audio versions of the show. And we will be back with you again real soon. A pleasure, my friend.
Thanks, brother.